Hello, everyone. I'm Kirk Key, Associate Professor of Media and Communication at Texas Tech University, a Hispanic serving institution. I'm presenting some preliminary analysis from an online survey I conducted with Alex Olshansky and Shan Shu. The title of our presentation today is User Perceptions, Finding Correlates, and the Overachieving Cyber Infrastructure and Research Computing and Data Professionals, a Preliminary Analysis. This is the short version of our presentation. If you would like to see the full version with more information about methods, analysis, and questionnaire design, please find a link in the description below. Okay, the study was funded by the Office of Advanced Cyber Infrastructure at the National Science Foundation in a career grant. The goal of this career project is to explore the social, organizational, and funding factors that facilitate the adoption and use of cyber infrastructure. Some of you participated in research interviews my team and I conducted a few years ago, so thank you. Findings from the interviews led to the current survey that we are going to go over today. But first, let me briefly explain the purpose of this presentation. Our goal is to share some preliminary findings to thank a few special friends who provided very helpful feedback on our survey questionnaire, and to also give back to the respondents who filled out our survey during wave 1 of our data collection in fall of 2021. Second, our goal is to recruit more participants. We currently have about 80 participants from wave 1 of data collection, which we believe to be a good start for this study. In order to perform more robust analyses, we are aiming at reaching 800 participants during wave 2 by the end of this year, December 31st, 2022, for more statistical power. We also have about a total of 160 gift cards for drawing, and each one is about $50 that we will give out for, to participants. More information to come towards the end of this presentation, so stay tuned. In this presentation, we will be sharing some findings about how users and RCD professionals differ on a few perceptions related to what may promote cyber infrastructure adoption, the correlates of CI funding, and also some DEI findings related to gender and ethnicity in the RCD profession. Okay, now let's first look at the main points, first set of findings about CI users and RCD professionals. So our first set of findings, we used a one-way ANOVA, a one-way analysis of variance to test how the following factors vary across the 4 groups of respondents in our survey. They are users, tech-focused RCD staff, user-focused RCD staff, as well as the administrators. The factors are also recategorized under 2 subgroups of micro and macro levels of support for CI adoption. Let's take a look at the first factor, university user support, on the next slide. The F statistic shows that the ANOVA test is statistically significant, indicating that some of the differences in opinions about university user support between the groups below are due to some systematic patterns and group memberships, and not by a simple random chance. Without going into the traditional pairwise comparisons in ANOVA, we're just going to show you the actual numbers of the 4 groups that we surveyed. So as you can see on the slide, the administrators ranked the highest with an average score of 5.6042 out of 7 on a Likert scale, based on responses from 16 respondents. Next, we have 22 user-focused staff and also 22 tech-focused staff who average 5.5303 and 4.9621 respectively on their opinions about university user support. Last, we have the users who score a 4.3667 out of 7 based on 10 respondents. Users reported the lowest score on user support as a group. So what can we learn from finding number 1? My team and I would say that there is a difference in how users perceive adequate user support for CI adoption versus those who are RCD professionals, with the biggest difference between users and the administrators. Note this, and you will begin to see a pattern after I review the next 3 findings. So next, we asked the respondents if they knew enough CI support context that they could reach out to when they needed help. Here are the rankings. User-focused staff showed the highest of 5.8523 out of 7 as a group. Next, we have the administrators scoring an average of 5.8077, tech-focused staff at 4.9773. The users come last again at 4.9250 out of 7. The F statistic shows that the ANOVA test has a p-value below 0.05. So there is a systematic reason why users score the lowest again here. Third, let's take a look at the finding about pro-CI administration, university administration. As you can see from the results, again, users ranked the lowest on their opinions about pro-CI university administration. That said, the F statistic is statistically non-significant because the p-value is above 0.05. It means that the differences between the groups on their opinions about the extent to which their university administration is pro-cyber infrastructure is only true in this sample. The fourth point here, we have non-traditional culture. The factor of non-traditional culture refers to the campus supporting multidisciplinary, community-driven, and problem-based research that favors cyber infrastructure. So finding number 4 shows that the users once again ranked the lowest on their opinions about their campus's non-traditional cultural orientation. With a p-value above 0.05, the finding is only true in the sample. So together, looking at the first four findings, we believe that these findings, although it is a mix of statistically significant and non-significant results, in the preliminary analysis, they give us some reasons to consider an explanation for why some users are hesitant about adopting cyber infrastructure. That perceptions are different from facts. It is not surprising to see that administrators and user-focused staff reported a higher perception of micro and macro level user support, as they are probably aware of more resources and context regarding CI support. What stood out for us is that users consistently rated the 4 factors the lowest compared to the RCD counterparts. So if users do not perceive the same, their actual CI adoption and use will be hampered in practice. So we see this as a good temperature check, if you will. Given these findings, we suggest spending more time and resources on changing user perceptions, such as making CI success stories more prominent on campus, partnering with departmental IT to make CI support context more accessible, working with university administration to more publicly recognize CI-enabled research, etc. The goal of these recommendations is to help reshape users' perception, which will have a direct impact on their actions. Next, let's take a look at the second main point, the correlates of funding and funded projects. In this analysis, we conducted a two-tailed Pearson correlation test to gauge the statistical correlates with the amount of funding and the number of funded projects received by CI users and RCD professionals. What we found was finding number 5, the amount of personal funding has a statistical significant and positive correlation with 2 factors, first being team citations, which refers to the number of citations of the team they work with, respondents work with, and second, we have team patents, which refers to the number of patents from the team. So what does this mean? It means to increase the chances of getting CI funding, one can decisively collaborate with teams that have more citations and more patents. Perhaps citations and patents convey reputations, confidence, and accomplishments, and all these things make sense. But it was surprising to see that among the 30 plus factors that we tested, only these 2 turned out to be statistically significant. The next finding we have here is finding number 6, which is even more surprising for us. The data suggests that the number of funded projects one received is negatively correlated with team collaboration and external CI reputation. My team and I would have guessed the complete opposite without the data. We would have thought that the number of projects a PI wins is positively correlated with their team's effective collaboration and external reputation. But why did the data show us something different? So my team and I speculate on this interpretation. Perhaps to win more funded projects, one needs to focus on producing quality publications for citations and groundbreaking discoveries that can lead to patents as suggested by finding number 5. To do these, it requires a lot of time, efforts, and focus. So what does finding number 6 tell us then? Having effective team collaboration and the CI reputation are great conceptually, but empirically, the more time a PI spends on improving team collaboration, helping others with CI and developing their external CI reputation, the smaller number of funded grants he or she will likely get. So the recommendation here is perhaps PIs can hire project managers and communication professionals to help them manage team dynamics and external CI reputation, so they personally do not need to engage in these efforts, but focus on writing competitive grant proposals for CI. Okay, now moving on to finding number 7. As mentioned earlier, the survey questionnaire included more than 30 factors that we wanted to test for correlations. And then the finding that we gathered from the correlational analysis is that the factor with the biggest number of correlates is non-traditional culture. We ran the correlation analysis and found about 20 correlates with this factor shown on the slide here. In the interest of time, I will not go through each and every one of them in details, but you can pause the video for a moment to glance through the list. Whenever you're ready, you can hit the play button again to resume, and you may pause now. Okay, welcome back. So all of the correlations are positive except one, and the exception is personal publications. What does this mean? It means that while non-traditional culture may be good for many things, such as absorptive capacity, internal CI knowledge, etc., there may still be a tension between the ability to publish many papers versus working in a non-traditional culture on the campus. This means pursuing CI, which is non-traditional in nature, may hurt one's publication record, given that many journals are narrowly specialized. So one suggestion we have that we would like to speculate with all of you is for research computing centers to consider hiring a very small select group of domain-specific RCD staff who would help new faculty users, I emphasize new faculty users, to support them from research conceptualization through data collection, data analysis to journal publications. Think about this special mission RCD unit like the highly trained individuals such as Tom Cruise in the movie Mission Impossible. The focus of this special mission RCD unit is to go deep instead of going wide. It is it also means to help new users all the way to publications as the last mile, maybe the most difficult and most daunting for brand new cyber infrastructure users. With the transition to cyber infrastructure, while making sure that they produce enough publications for their tenure and promotion cases, it is very tough. The RCD staff can serve as co-authors on these publications with faculty in the faculty's domain. And this recommendation only makes sense for centers that have the resources to allocate to help new and potential users who would not otherwise get on cyber infrastructure. And they have the and these centers would probably need to have the bandwidth to take on more new users who need this kind of support. So combining finding 7 with the earlier findings from 1 through 4, perhaps it is time to rethink what user support means from faculty's perspective, especially for publications. Okay, finally, the third point here is about diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. So first, we perform a t-test to compare the means of 3 factors between male and female respondents in the sample. As you can see on the slide, about 11 females and 57 males indicated their gender in the survey. No one selected the non-binary option, and some skipped the questions completely during the survey. But for finding number 8, we found that on average, females tend to work in larger teams with an average of 36 members, compared to males who tend to work in smaller teams of about 13 members. For finding number 9, females reported an average funding amount of $4.5 million compared to males with an average funding amount of $3.6 million. Both of these findings appear to suggest that females tend to work in larger teams and have obtained more funding than males. But what may be an explanation here? Finding number 10 gives us a possible answer, and that is perhaps females have greater CI aspirations compared to the male counterparts. Females as a group score an average of 5.3409 out of 7 compared to males as a group with an average score of 5.1535. The finding would suggest that females are more motivated about the RCD and CI careers. However, they may have been a sampling bias, which means that only highly motivated females took our survey. In order to remove this concern for sampling bias, we would like to put out a call for more female participants in wave 2 of data collection. Next, and so we looked at ethnicity with a t-test as well. In the actual questionnaire, we asked the respondents to indicate ethnicity by choosing from several options, such as white, Black, Hispanic, Asian, etc. However, there were so few people of color in the sample, so we cannot meaningfully compare between specific groups. Given this limitation, we combined the 9 people of colors into a new group we call non-whites. This is to create a better statistical comparison with a larger group of 49 respondents who indicated their ethnicity as whites. We note this as a limitation of our first wave of data collection, not that we do not respect the cultural differences between those we loosely put into the non-white group. That said, let's take a look at the findings. Finding number 11 shows that non-whites as a group reported an average of more than 7,000 citations, while whites reported an average of slightly over 1,000. Finding number 12 indicates that non-whites reported almost 300 team publications on average, while whites only have about 131 team publications on average. As indicated by the T statistics, finding number 11 and finding number 12 are statistically significant, which means that the differences between whites and non-whites in terms of personal citations and team publications are likely due to group memberships in the larger community. Finding number 13 suggests that non-whites have an average of more than 11,000 team citations compared to whites with an average team citation of slightly below 5,000. This finding is only true in the sample with p-value above 0.05. What do these findings mean? Perhaps due to consistent effort in promoting DEI in STEM over the past decade or so, women and ethnic minorities who made their way into the RCD and CI world are overachieving compared to the white males in the same profession. Perhaps women and ethnic minorities transition to RCD positions from faculty careers. That's why they brought with them a track record of funding, publications, and citations. Again, there could have been a sampling bias that with 9 non-whites who took our survey, they could have been the most successful ones out there. So that's a limitation of data. Now we're going to move on to the last 2 findings to share before we wrap up. So finding number 14, we perform a chi-square test to see if there is a gender association with the primary roles of the respondents in our sample. The number of males and females for the tech focus and user focus RCD staff is exactly matching what you would have expected to see if there is no gender association with primary role as shown in the numbers in blue in the red box here. And also, as you can see, for the actual and expected counts, the differences between males and females for users and administrators are also minimal. So this chi-square test is also not statistically significant, which also helps us arrive at the interpretation that there isn't enough statistical evidence to claim that there is a gender association with how professionals end up picking what roles in the RCD world as their primary role. This means there is insufficient evidence, at least at this point, to raise any DEI concern here. So here's the very last finding, finding number 15. We did a similar chi-square test with whites versus non-whites. And while there are no matching actual and expected head counts in any of the categories, the differences are also minimal. The test is again statistically not significant. That said, I do want to note that statistically speaking, given this sample of 9 non-whites and 49 whites, we would have expected 2 administrators who are non-white. However, in the actual data set, it is shown here that there are no administrators who are non-white, as indicated by the 0 in blue in the red oval. This raises the question of whether there was something to be suspicious of. So what can we learn from the DEI findings so far? So my team and I speculated that perhaps non-whites and females who made it into the CI and RCD world are working very hard to achieve the traditional indicators of academic success, such as funding, publications, citations, and they have also developed a high degree of CI aspiration. If these findings are confirmed to be statistically significant with a larger data set from Wave 2, then it means that all the DEI efforts that we have been doing over the past decade or so have successfully changed the landscape. But if that is true, we still want to be cautious not to swing the pendulum too far, such that the white male in the profession become the new disadvantaged category in the CI and RCD world. Now, allow me to say a few words about our approach to survey research. The survey is completely anonymous on Qualtrics. Second, the analysis is based on aggregated data, and the findings are at the macro level. We never drill down to a specific individual respondent. Third, the goal of our study is to identify the findings that can help us extrapolate patterns from the sample and make inferences about the larger community of CI users and RCD professionals. Fourth, the questionnaire contains many variables that we plan to analyze with a larger data set from Wave 2. For example, we can compare between dispersed teams versus co-located teams, CI early adopters versus late adopters, to name a couple. There are many more analysis to do and more findings to share in due time. So we hope you enjoy our presentation today. We presented 15 findings, but only 7 of them are statistically significant due to a very small data set of 80 respondents. They are the only findings that we can state at the 95% confidence level that they are likely to be true in the RCD community beyond the sample of 80. We would need 800 respondents in Wave 2 to have enough statistical power for more robust analysis to further understand our larger community. So please help us get there. Please take our survey. The link to the survey is tinyurl.com/TTU 2022 CI survey. The link is also in the description. You can also help us recruit. The recruitment script you can adapt in your own personalized email can be found at tinyurl.com TTU 2022 recruitment. So we also provided a QR code for your convenience. Please share this video with your colleagues, mailing lists, etc. We promise to share our findings again with the community in a similar fashion. Now, if you decide to take a survey, you will first take the survey on Qualtrics. On the thank you page, towards the end of that Qualtrics survey, you will have the opportunity to click on a link to a separate Google form to enter a drawing for a $50 Amazon gift card. We plan to give out 1 gift card with every 5 entries that come in, so drawing is ongoing. We have about 160 gift cards to give out over the next few months. We plan to keep the survey open until the end of this year, December 31st, 2022, but please take the survey ASAP before we run out of gift cards. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please feel free to email me at kurt.key@ttu.edu. On behalf of my team, I would like to thank you for helping us figure out the puzzle of the social, organizational, and funding factors that can influence cyber infrastructure adoption and the RCD profession. With that, I will conclude my presentation. Thank you.